Making friends in Canada sounds easy, until you actually try. Many Americans move here expecting the same warm, outgoing social culture they're used to back home. But very quickly, they realize something feels different. Canadians are polite, friendly on the surface, and always respectful. But building a real friendship? That part takes time, patience, and a completely different social approach. Today, we're breaking down why forming meaningful connections in Canada can be much harder than people expect. The challenge isn't that Canadians are cold or unwelcoming, it's that the entire framework of friendship operates differently here. What Americans interpret as openness in their home country gets replaced by a quieter, more cautious version of connection in Canada. And for someone who's used to making friends quickly, this shift feels isolating, confusing, and sometimes even personal. They start wondering if they're doing something wrong, if people don't like them, or if they'll ever truly belong. The truth is more nuanced than that. Canadian friendships aren't impossible to form. They just require understanding a completely different set of social rules that nobody explains to you when you arrive. And without that understanding, many Americans spend months or even years feeling lonely in a country full of kind people who never quite let them in. One of the first things Americans notice is the polite wall. Canadians are extremely respectful, but they also protect their personal space. They'll greet you with a smile, hold the door, and say sorry even when it's not their fault. But that politeness doesn't automatically translate into closeness. For many Americans, this feels confusing. You can talk to the same Canadian at work every day and still not feel like you really know them. It's not that they dislike you. Canadian culture simply moves slower when it comes to building trust. The politeness creates a comfortable distance that feels welcoming but never quite intimate. Canadians will chat about the weather, ask how your weekend was, and laugh at your jokes, but they won't invite you to their home or share personal details about their life unless they've known you for months or sometimes even years. For Americans who are used to people opening up quickly, sharing stories, and inviting new acquaintances to social gatherings after just a few conversations, this reserved approach feels like rejection. But it's not rejection, it's protection. Canadians guard their inner circle carefully, and breaking through that polite barrier requires consistent effort, genuine interest, and above all, time. Lots and lots of time that many Americans simply don't expect to invest just to make a casual friend. Another reason it's hard to make friends is that Canadians often keep their social life tight and pre-established. Many people grow up with the same childhood friends, university friends, or neighborhood circles. So when someone new arrives, they're friendly, but they don't always think to invite you into their world right away. In the US, the people tend to be more open, more spontaneous, and quicker to form friendships. But in Canada, social connections grow quietly, gradually, and through routine, not instant chemistry. Canadians value stability in their relationships, which means they invest deeply in the people they already know, rather than constantly expanding their social network. This isn't snobbery or exclusivity, it's simply a different social priority. Where Americans might meet someone interesting and immediately suggest grabbing coffee or planning a weekend hangout, Canadians are more likely to keep things surface level until they've spent significant time around you in structured settings like work, hobbies, or mutual friend groups. The social culture here rewards patience and consistency over charisma and boldness. You don't win people over with a great first impression. You win them over by showing up repeatedly, being reliable, and slowly proving you're worth letting into their established rhythm. And for Americans who thrive on spontaneity and quick connections, this process feels frustratingly slow and unnecessarily cautious. And then there's the weather. Harsh winters keep people indoors for months, and that alone makes social life harder. Americans moving north often feel the loneliness hit hardest during winter. Less sunlight, fewer events, and fewer chances to meet people. Combine this with long work hours, commutes, and Canada's calmer city culture, and making friends becomes a long-term process. It takes consistency, effort, and patience that many newcomers aren't prepared for. But once a Canadian becomes your friend, it's usually for life. The weather doesn't just affect logistics, it affects mood, energy, and social motivation. During long, dark winters, Canadians naturally retreat into their homes and existing social circles, making it even harder for newcomers to break in. Social events become less frequent, outdoor meetups disappear, and the casual interactions that might spark friendships in warmer months simply don't happen. For Americans used to year-round social activity, this seasonal isolation intensifies their loneliness. They find themselves stuck in a cycle. They need friends to make winter bearable, but winter makes it nearly impossible to meet people. Add to this the fact that Canadian cities often feel quieter and less socially chaotic than American ones, And you get an environment where friendship requires deliberate, sustained effort rather than organic, spontaneous connection. The isolation isn't intentional, it's structural, cultural, and environmental all at once. Work culture also plays a huge role. Canadians separate their professional life from their personal life far more than Americans do. You might chat with the same coworkers every day, laugh with them, even share stories, and still, you won't get invited out after hours. Work friends in Canada often stay as just that. Americans interpret this as coldness or disinterest, but really, Canadians just respect boundaries. They don't want to assume closeness or intrude on someone's private life unless they're absolutely sure it's welcome. In the US, it's common for coworkers to become real friends quickly. Grabbing drinks after work, attending each other's birthday parties, or even hanging out on weekends becomes normal after just a few weeks or months. But in Canada, that transition from coworker to friend happens much more rarely and takes much longer. Canadians keep work relationships professional, polite, and pleasant, but they don't automatically extend them into their personal lives. This isn't because they don't like their coworkers. It's because they view work as a separate sphere that shouldn't necessarily bleed into their private time. For Americans who are used to building their social life through work connections, this separation feels isolating and confusing. They wonder why their friendly coworkers never suggest meeting up outside the office, why lunch conversations never turn into dinner invitations, and why people seem genuinely interested in their lives but never take the next step toward actual friendship. The boundary isn't personal, it's cultural, and it's deeply ingrained in how Canadians structure their relationships and protect their personal time and energy. There's also the unspoken rule of not being too forward. Canadians value subtlety and patience. If you push too hard, open up too fast, or try to bond too quickly, it can actually make people withdraw. Many Americans don't understand this at first. They try to be friendly, enthusiastic, and open like they would at home. But in Canada, friendship grows from repeated small interactions, shared experiences, and quiet reliability. It's less about personality and more about trust that builds slowly. But the biggest reason of all is this: Canadians attach deep meaning to their friendships. Once someone lets you into their life, it's not casual, it's long-term, it's loyal, it's sincere. And that level of closeness takes time to build, often months, sometimes years. So while the journey may feel slow and lonely at first, the friendships that eventually form are usually stronger than what many Americans are used to. In Canada, friendship is not quick, but it's real. Canadians don't collect friends the way Americans sometimes do. They cultivate them. They're selective, intentional, and protective of their social energy. When a Canadian finally considers you a true friend, it means something profound. It means they trust you, value you, and are willing to invest in you for the long haul. These aren't friendships that fade when life gets busy or when someone moves to a different city. They're relationships built on years of shared experiences, mutual respect, and deep understanding. Canadians show up for their friends in meaningful ways. They remember important details, offer help without being asked, and stay loyal even when times get tough. For Americans who successfully navigate the slow, cautious process of Canadian friendship, the reward is often a level of connection that feels more stable and genuine than many relationships they had back home. The wait is long, the process is frustrating, but the result is a friendship that doesn't require constant maintenance or dramatic gestures to survive. It just exists, steady and strong, built on a foundation that took years to construct properly. So if you're an American moving to Canada, don't mistake politeness for distance or slow bonding for disinterest. Canadians open up gradually, carefully, and intentionally. But when they finally do, you gain a friend who shows up for you in a way that lasts. What do you think? Is Canadian friendship culture difficult or just different? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more eye-opening stories about life around the world.